Hi guys, my name is Emily DeSimone with the Garden State Film Festival, and here with me today I have director Tatum Lenberg, writer Aiden Carreri, and producer Amelie Beresford Wood. How are you all doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Emily?
I'm doing well, thank you. So you guys, the Aviary, would you like to give our live viewers a tidbit about the film?
Definitely. Yeah, we created this film, the three of us. We were roommates in college and we were kind of just like talking about, topics that were happening and we stumbled upon the idea of the troubled teen industry because it's been such a huge cause that we feel really connected to over the past few years. And so then we started figuring out that a lot of people in our community had been affected by this. And then the more that we developed the story, the more that we realized that like this was something we really felt we needed to talk about. And then the idea for the aviary was born, and then Aiden helped to write it, and he did write the whole thing. And just with his writing skills, like he really brought the whole story to life and created the character of Naomi and Dr. Kent and like the whole dynamic between them and the entire camp. And with Tatum's creative vision, it just kind of took off, and then from there we made it happen. And it's been such a dream and so much fun to work with them.
I love your energy, Amelie. I know I told you before. Aiden, would you like to talk about what inspired your specific writing for the Aviary?
I think we brainstormed a lot of. I mean, this was producer initiative, so this senior thesis. So Amelie really came with the idea, and Tatum and Amelie both had people in their lives that they knew had personal connections to the industry. So we were very fortunate to be able to speak with them. And then I think for me, as someone who I'd heard about it peripherally before, but I'd never really delved into it. So for me, it was just about starting with a lot of research and figuring out what were the commonalities we were seeing in testimony. And once I started to see different through lines, it was really became a question of, okay, what piece of the story do we want to tell? And we brainstormed a few different ideas, but in the end, it really came down to we want to really see what's going on inside the camp. Yeah, and from there, I mean, of course, if anyone who's been through the writing process, like you go through many drafts and the story changes and different elements came in and out. The Raven was an element that changed a lot for anyone who has seen the film or will see the film. Yeah.
So the three of you are all students together at the same program. Have you graduated at this time?
We
We were.
graduated.
This was our senior thesis, and we were actually all, I only mentioned it, living together at the same time that we were going through this whole creative process. So that was it was fun. I think people were really worried for us that we were going to get too overwhelmed being in such tight quarters and then also collaborating in such close quarters. But I think it made process really fun, actually. And we got to like over dinner discuss notes on the script or ideas for the film. And so it was a fun experience. It was just the three of us living in a house together, but it was fun to make something with people that you're so close with. And then we got to be so close through the filmmaking process and the post-production process too.
That's one. I mean, yeah, you don't have to figure out a schedule on when you guys are going to all necessarily see each other. So, would you like to talk a bit about the program to all of our live viewers?
Yeah,
Definitely.
and Amelie can probably speak to this more too because Aiden mentioned our school, Chapman University. We were all in Dodge College of Film and Media Arts. They have a senior thesis program to encourage more producers to lead the thesis film process, kind of like it is in the real world, where producers really initiate films and have greater control of the entire like film life cycle. They offer grants to films that are started by producers. So Amelie really, I can probably speak to this more because she was actually in the producer program.
Okay.
It was really interesting. So I kind of decided that I wanted to do a producer initiated film. Actually, my I think all of our sophomore years, but Aiden and I like had this whole idea where we thought maybe we should like do a film in France. Anyways, we always, I think, from that idea wanted to do something where we had the opportunity to travel. And so that was kind of where like the grants came into play too, because it was like, okay, with this producer initiated element, we had the option to be able to apply for these grants that we normally wouldn't have the opportunity to. And so then when we found out that like this film needed to be because it was a travel film, so it needed to take place in a, not Southern California looking area. So we ended up scouting a few locations all together and like decided on St. Edward Retreat Center, which is in Wrightwood, California. But anyways, that being said, like as a producer initiated thesis, this was just really different in the way that normally producers don't really have as much creative control. They're kind of there to be like a line producer in college. And so it was cool that Aiden and Tatum like supported me so much. And I obviously had like no idea what I was doing, but I think that's the blessing of like being a senior in college and just like trying things and doing whatever you want with your two best friends. And that was really cool to be able to like have that experience. And it gave me so much confidence as a producer. And then I think I went out into the real world feeling a lot more, I don't know, like prepared to be able to make big decisions and lead a big team. And that was really, a great experience to gain from the producer initiated program. So any Chapman looking people out there, if you're scouting or thinking about Chapman, do that senior thesis program when you get there, because it's so much fun and everyone should hop on board.
I mean, are you all from Southern California?
No.
No? Well, where are you all tuning in from right now?
Well, we're all tuning in right now from Los Angeles, and we all moved here after school, but I'm originally from North Idaho.
Okay. And
Crazy.
I'm from San Francisco originally, so I just moved down to Orange County for college.
Mhm.
And I'm actually from Vancouver, Canada, but I moved down for college as well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's actually so cool that you guys are all from different like parts of the U.S. I mean, kind of still all, it sounds like somewhat the Pacific Northwest, but ish, I guess.
Mhm.
Is California still part of the Pacific Northwest? With that said, what is it that got you guys into filmmaking and directing? Like, what was it that, that inspired you to want to be a director and a writer and a producer?
When I was in like middle school-ish age, I was obsessed with the idea of being like a Disney Channel star, and I acted in all these horrible plays and was just extremely not talented at all in that area at all. And I started to kind of think like I didn't even necessarily like it. I just wanted to be a part of something creative. And I started to look around, and obviously all the other kids were also acting in other roles, but I started to think like, oh, the adults, like the teachers who are directing these middle school, high school plays, like that's kind of interesting, the stuff they're doing behind the scenes to put this together. So I started I first looked into, I think, an editing class and learned like how to edit on Premiere Pro. And then from that, I found a high school filmmaking program in San Francisco called SF Art and Film, which was a great experience for me. I basically every Sunday through all 4 years of high school, I went to like an 8-hour Sunday film workshop where we learned all the basics of filmmaking. We watched tons of old films like Fellini, really cool, like foreign films, black and white films, things that I wasn't exposed to at 14 years of age, just living in the suburbs. And I started to really fall in love with filmmaking to the point that I just knew I wanted to go to college for it. And then that in college is where I met Amelie and Aiden, and we just connected. And it just was clear that this was going to be a great project for us all to work on together.
That's so cool to hear about a program like that.
It's amazing.
Sunday. I mean, that's a commitment. I mean, like you've got kids that do play sports and do put hours in for rehearsals. So that's so cool.
I feel so lucky I got to do that program. It's just such a wonderful thing that exists in the Bay Area. If someone's watching this and they live in the Bay Area, I couldn't recommend it more. It's called SF Art and Film. And they also give free tickets to like the San Francisco Symphony and opera and playhouses. It's a nonprofit, and it's just a great experience where they just donate kind of all these art and culture programs to teenagers who live in the Bay Area, and you get to participate as much or as little as you want. So yeah, that's really what introduced me to like the whole filmmaking process.
It's wonderful to have those kinds of resources for, you're saying it was a high school workshop type of, that's fantastic. And so Aiden, you being are you from Vancouver specifically, or are you from like outside of?
No, born and raised in Vancouver. Yeah.
So then what being in Vancouver exposed you to wanting to be a writer?
Ryan Reynolds, living right next to him. Just kidding. Sorry.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said living right next to Ryan Reynolds. Sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no brainer. And Seth Rogen for sure. No, I mean, I was always really interested, and I think writing, like whether it was prose or songwriting or whatever, like words and language and communication was something that always really fascinated me, even when I was young. Um, and so, and I love movies. And grade 7, I was really fortunate that my school they started piloting this electives program, and a lot of the electives that were offered were taught by parents who happened to go to the school, whose children happened to go to school, and one of them was a screenwriting class. So in grade 7, I took a screenwriting class, and that just totally allowed me to, I guess, articulate and understand on a mechanical level the structure of film, and I fell in love with it. And so I continued studying throughout middle school and high school. And then around grade 9, I also got interested in acting and started taking lessons. And that really was really fascinating to me because it sort of offered insight into the creative process and into the process of communication and building character from the sort of macro level and the micro level. And then I specialized in film in my education program in grade 10, 11, 12. And then, yeah, applied to Chapman.
That's awesome. Wait, so you're saying that there was in your school like electives that exposed you to being able to really dive into this?
Pretty much, yeah. The selective, the teacher, she's amazing. We're still in touch to this day. I'm actually meeting up with her a couple weeks later. It's like 10 years later. She's still a mentor. But she literally walked us through like what is the structure of a film? What are all those hidden, mechanics that you don't talk about as a viewer? You don't necessarily know about what's the 3-act structure, what's an inciting incident, and then we wrote. Like went through the whole process, outlined cue card, and wrote feature films. And yeah, it was incredible to have that experience at that age. So I feel super fortunate.
So the both of you had exposure as teenagers to these essentially like these programs that helped you with all of like this diving into the creativity of the filming world. So Amelie, did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, being in North Idaho, we didn't have anything fun, like that because they don't have that. But when I did it, because I bounced between like the North Idaho and the Bay Area, and when I was in the Bay, it's just like crazy. But we had to make like stop motion films and like very bad like green screen movies in this like it was like this wild class that we had where it was just all like computer techniques, whatever. Anyways, that was like my first exposure to like film things. But I think what made me fall in love with like movies and producing and all of that was just like growing up with music and movies and like the whole I think the world of entertainment as a whole and just like being in awe of that. And like what Tatum was saying, I really wanted to be like a Disney star. So I love that for us. We definitely didn't make it, but we're close. Um but yeah, so it was that. And then when I came to Chapman, I like had not really an idea of what I wanted to do, but I always loved like theater and like I think the leadership and business aspect of producing. And so when I found out that there was a whole major where you could just like be on a team with people and make movies and like make friends, I think that was what attracted me most to it. And the amount that I learned in that program was just like ridiculous because you learn everything in producing. It's my best friend likes to say that it's like a mix of every single thing. And because you need a producer to be able to like say, okay, hey, I know a little bit about directing, I know a little bit about writing. And you don't really learn that until you do it. And so I think like that was what made me fall in love with everything. And through that, I've just been learning more about movies and like seeing things, that you see as a filmmaker. And I love that so much. So it was more of a thing where like once I was in it, I was in love and it's been great.
I mean, like, I think that this is like the world of like film and art and movies is like it's this beautiful, like creative way to push out messages that are important to us. So, I mean, it is fantastic that we do get our youth into like these exposed like programs such as this, even though like, you said you had to like jump back and forth, like you still had the ability to find and be exposed to these things. So, like with all that said, I mean, I would love to keep going on for another like half hour with you guys, but we're almost at time. So are you guys going to be able to make it out to New Jersey for the film festival?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, Amelie and I have definitely been talking about it. We're still figuring out the details, so we're really hoping we can make it.
Okay. I mean, And I will be there. I would love to meet you guys in person. Aiden, would you be jumping along with them or?
I'm also trying to figure that out. I just started a new job, so I'm just trying to make sure like schedules and stuff will line up. But I would be thrilled to be there. It sounds like an amazing.
Well, I mean, you guys seem like such like a fun dynamic, like as a trio, and you would be such a pleasure to meet in person. But if for whatever reason I don't get to meet you face to face, it was such a pleasure to get to talk to you guys today and like dive into a little bit about the film, why it was important to you, and to get to know about you guys individually. So everybody, you can go see The Aviary on Saturday, March 25th at the Jersey Shore Arts Center from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you can buy tickets at the Garden State Film Festival, gsff.org/tickets. You guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. And again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Emily. It was so nice to meet you.
It was so nice meeting you, Emily. Thank you.